Well, today we are going to make something that I just discovered and heard about, and it's called Cowboy Candy. And it just so happens to include one of my favorite ingredients and things to eat, and that's jalapenos. Now, one thing we did this year was we grew a batch of jalapenos. So I've got my husband, he's behind the camera, and we're going to walk together outside and we're going to go pick these jalapenos for our cowboy candy. So here we go. All right, and this is our crop from the summer of growing. We've got tons of jalapenos on here. So I'm going to pick a few. Oh, a nice big one. Let me just get one more because I want to make sure I have enough in the recipe. Ah, look at the loot. Woohoo! We have brought in our wonderful loot and harvest of our jalapenos, and we're just going to cut them into little rings. So we'll cut off the ends and just make little circles. This recipe calls for like 1.5 pounds. I'm not sure if this is 1.5 pounds, but I will go by recipes and what they say, but then if I have to change because of what I have in our cabinets and things, I do change recipe quantities up. Like for instance, it calls for 2.5 cups of sugar. I'm only going to use 2 cups. I might even use less because that's my preference. But if you want to make it exactly like it, it says 1.5 pounds of cut jalapenos and 2.5 cups of sugar. And this is so much fun. I love cutting things. And just, I try to always do it the professional way, how you come back and go, but however it gets done in my department. Make sure I don't have any stems or leaves in my mix here. And I'm even going to leave mine a little thicker because this recipe, this cowboy candy, can be like a jelly for toast or topping for a hot dog or a hamburger or something. But I want it as candy because I'd like to just pull in a jar and be like a pickle, just like candy. So that's my wants with this candy we're making today. So the next part of this particular recipe calls for 2.5 cups of granulated sugar. But use whatever sugar you want. I mean, you could probably even use brown sugar if you like that taste. Then it also calls for 1 cup of apple vinegar. This is 1 cup of apple vinegar. It calls for the exact recipe calls for a half a teaspoon of celery seed, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, and 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. I don't have ginger out. I've got to find ginger. This is the garlic, 1 teaspoon of granulated garlic. Now I am using minced garlic because that's what I have. So I will be right back because I have to look for a half a teaspoon of ground ginger, which I'm sure we have. So hopefully I can see what I'm looking for. Ah, it's right here in the front. Ground ginger, we have it. So voila, these are our ingredients for this cowboy candy. It also says to get a wide mouth funnel, 2 pint-size mason jar thingies. Now, we are going to combine the sugar, the vinegar, the garlic, the turmeric, the ginger, and the celery seed in a large saucepan. Ugh. Now, I'm not a sugar fan, but this is, every little one of these is only going to have just a tiny bit of sugar on it, so it's not going to be bad. Now, if you drank this, it would be bad. But yeah, we'll just be eating this like candy. All right, and then it says vinegar. granulated garlic, which ours is minced garlic. Teaspoon. This is a tablespoon. Even though it's huge, it's a tablespoon. This pretty much equals a tablespoon. And this is a teaspoon, even though it looks like it's a tablespoon. But so this is what I use when it says a tablespoon, and this is what I use when it says a teaspoon. So that's what I'm going to do today. And then if extra falls in, yeah, that's more garlic in the pot. It'll be totally fine. Bam. Done. Check. That smells good. So now we have turmeric. And same thing with turmeric. You know, if I put a whole teaspoon in, it's not going to be a big deal. Ginger. Half a teaspoon of ginger. Half a teaspoon. That'll work. All right, then a half a teaspoon of celery seed. Bam. I don't know why, to me, like the half a teaspoon does nothing, but I guess it does something. You bring this to boil over a medium heat. Let me stir this. And you stir until the sugar dissolves. This will be medium-high heat. That's what this is on. And we're letting the sugar dissolve, and we're bringing it to a boil. And then we're going to turn the heat down. It will simmer for 5 minutes. Woohoo! Okay, our 5 minutes of waiting for this. Now this has turned into a syrupy mixture, and I'm going to taste it. Oh my gosh, this stuff is delicious. Now I see why you only put half a teaspoon of all of these things. This boiling process just took those flavors and like bursted them into wonderfulness. This could almost be a syrup to put on pancakes if you wanted just syrup. But our next process is, this has been simmering for 5 minutes after it boiled, and we are going to get the jalapenos and bring them over and pour them in. So we're adding the jalapenos to our sugar, vinegar, turmeric, ginger, garlic, celery seed mixture. So I'm going to put the heat back on high and get this to boil again. And then we will reduce the heat and simmer for 4 minutes, stirring often. So it has come to its full boil, and we are going to let it simmer for 4 minutes. Well, we have got it all simmered and boiled and ready to go. Oh my goodness! The next step is to put it in your mason jar. And I've got one right here, and now we're going to be using the largemouth funnel, and I see what it's for. It's to fit in your mason jar. And we're going to get the jalapenos first before we put the syrup in. And we're going to pour them, just put the jalapenos into the jar. Now, the quantity of jalapenos that I had is going to be pretty much enough for 1 jar. But the juice I made, the syrup I made, I think might be enough for 2. So just make this recipe work for you. If just the amount of liquid that we used, if you maybe got 5 more jalapenos, you would be able to have 2 jars. But I'm thinking I'm only going to have 1 jar, but we will see. And here we have it. Oh my goodness, we made it! This is Cowboy Candy. Well, we had a ton of leftover syrup, like a whole nother batch. So with this, I was going to just pour the syrup in here to pour over things for later. But then I opened the fridge and we have a whole bunch of mini cucumbers. Now, one of our family's favorite thing is to make these Thai mini cucumbers. We eat them like they're potato chips or pickles. So that's why we keep these in our fridge a lot. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make the other half of this with mini cucumbers. So I've already got the syrup made, and Let me make sure I've got it. I'm going to get it heating back up again. And I'm going to sort of cut these exactly like I did the jalapenos. And I'm going to do 3 or 4 of these. Alrighty, here's the other loot. Woohoo! Here we go. And I'm just going to give this the, get it to the boil. And then I'm going to let it simmer for the 4 minutes so they get soft. And then I'm going to put it in this jar just like we did the last half of the jalapeno. Okay, so the cucumbers are coming to their boil, and we are going to take it off the heat, move it down to low, and set the timer for 4 minutes. Well, here we have it, the cucumbers, and I've already did a little taste test, is also excellent in this syrup, vinegar, sugar sauce. It actually tastes like jalapeno pickles, if you can imagine that. And I'm going to do the same process that I did as with the jalapenos by scooping them. Even though I'm going to be probably pouring the rest of this sauce in there, I just want to make sure that there's a good even ratio. And I noticed in my thing here, I can maybe pour some of that if I need more. But hey, extra sauce is good. I even sometimes if I get a good pickle that I really like from a store and the pickle juice is still in there, I will get those mini cucumbers. But now I might also do our jalapenos and finish up the juice. Oh, careful not to overfill. And we did it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Snacks for a week. Or maybe longer. Well, with this being said, this is my favorite thing to do, is just to be in the kitchen making stuff with stuff you have, so it doesn't go to waste. And that is this. I didn't want this syrup to go to waste because it's so good, and I could have kept it in the jar, but now we have jalapeno pickles. So this is Cowboy Candy, the jalapenos, and this is Indian Candy, the cucumbers. So Cowboy Candy and Indian Candy. Well, it's approximately 1 week later, and these have been marinating in the fridge. I'm going to taste test them. Well, here we go. I'm going to start with the cucumber because the jalapeno could be hot. So let's do this. Oh my gosh. Bread and butter pickles. Bread and butter pickles. I made bread and butter pickles. I love bread and butter pickles. Yes. All right, now, here we go. Jalapeno. Definitely Cowboy Candy, and it wasn't even that hot as of right now. It's very, very good. I think I might do one more jar, and that's if I had a crop of sweet peppers, which I didn't have this year. I would have sweet peppers included in this. So check, do it, Cowboy Candy. And my Indian candy is actually bread and butter pickles, and they're delicious. Until next video. I'll be a cowgirl, a Christian cowgirl. I'll work for Jesus all my